only grapes in the wine business cannot be washed by, let's say, history, because water was the first fraud done in Italy to multiply wine. So people was buying wine from Puglia and at 16, 17 degrees, and the wine was arriving in the north, and magically this wine became 11, 10 degrees because it doubled with water. So water was always seen like a fraud.
Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today it's my great pleasure to travel to Lombardia, to the wine zone of Franciacorta, located in the gentle moraine hills that lie below Lake Iseo, one of Italy's loveliest large lakes, to meet my guest, one of the pioneers of Franciacorta, Maurizio Zanella of the iconic Ca del Bosco winery. Grazie, Maurizio. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I've enjoyed Ca del Bosco wines on so many occasions, so it's a real pleasure for me to meet you here this morning. How are you?
Thank you to you and thank you to host me. I am very well. It's not a sunny day, but at least doesn't rain. And I am here happy to make you discover a little bit more about Franciacorta and Ca del Bosco.
Okay, thank you, Maurizio. It's actually unusually the sun is shining here for me in southwest England in Devon, and I know that you know this area a little bit because you studied here many years ago. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. Too many years ago.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes. Now, Maurizio, before we begin talking about Ca del Bosco in detail, can you first tell our listeners where Franciacorta is, where it's located, what the landscape is like so that they can gain a picture of where we are?
Sure. Like you say, we are in the Lombardy region. That is probably not the most known region for wine, but there is a niche, a small area called Franciacorta that is in the northeast of Lombardy and is exactly between the city of Bergamo and Brescia. And the north border of Franciacorta is the south border of a beautiful lake called Iseo. That is beautiful lake that go straight in a valley where 30 miles north there is a glacier called Adamello. So we have a little bit everything. We have the hills, we have the lake, we have the valley, we have the glaciers in a very short time, just 1 hour away from Milano. We are lucky because we are in a very nice strategic position between Milano and Venice in a really beautiful hilly area.
Yeah, it is an absolutely gorgeous and beautiful area. And of course, it's become, in large measure, through your efforts, Italy's, I would say, premier region or wine zone for classic method sparkling wines. Maurizio, Ca del Bosco began as a dream more than 50 years ago, and it was your dream. Can you please recount something of this story, this beautiful story?
Well, it's a nice story because it's unusually normally for a winery that try to valorize the region and get good result in terms of quality. Normally, you need two, three, four generation, and was a miracle, in my opinion, that Franciacorta was able to establish a real high quality and to get a success on the market in only 60 years. The dream of Ca del Bosco started when I was very, very young, and I have a travel in France, specifically in Burgundy and Champagne, and I was not at all wine addicted. But when I come back from this travel, something was moved inside me, and my family have a small farm here in Ca del Bosco. It was called Ca del Bosco because it was a little tiny house in the middle of the forest. So Ca is the dialect for casa here, and Ca del Bosco means the house in the forest. And so, for several reasons, my family decided that I moved from Milano and I came to live here in the farm. And with the farmer, we basically say what we saw in France, we can do also here and we can do it better. So I was a little bit unconscious in order to think this, but was my dream, is still my dream. And in order to say Italy can turn from quantity wine to quality wine. And so this is basically what's happened. And I was very, very lucky to be helped in a philosophical way from the most illuminated man that Italy had in this time, was called Luigi Veronelli, that he was a little bit the man that pushed the farmer to get dignity in behind of the industrial people that was make wine at that time, and they was making wine most of the time in quantity level and not in quality. So Luigi Veronelli was very important in order to give dignity to the farmer and push them to do the wine directly and not sell the grapes, where when they sell the grapes, they have to produce a lot, because they was paid very little. And so the quality of the wine in Italy in the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s was really low. And for this reason, by accident, Ca del Bosco have been one of the few wineries that start what I call the Italian wine renaissance. And this movement, in my opinion, was helped a lot by Veronelli. In my case, it was essential in order to push and to break all the rules and change all the habits. At that time was not easy.
I can remember Luigi Veronelli. I'd never met him personally, Maurizio, but I've been writing about wine for many, many years, and I can remember in the 80s his red Guida Veronelli was a Bible for anybody looking for quality wines in Italy, because as you say, it was a transition moment after the Mezzadria when producers were discovering and rediscovering this great patrimony of Italian wines, that, you know, the quality and the potential to make truly great wines. But if your inspiration were the wines of perhaps La Romane Conti, the greatest, silkiest, and most expensive red Burgundies, and I know these are wines, I've read these are wines that you saw as models. How did you decide to produce classic method sparkling wine? Was the Franciacorta revolution already just beginning, for perhaps down the road with your neighbors Franco Zigliani and Guido Berlucchi?
Yes, indeed. The trip that I have done when I was 17 was with him, with Franco Zigliani, that he was starting to put the first bottle on the market in 64. And this trip was in the early 70s. And so he was starting his idea and was a genius, but was not yet established in terms of let's say quality project region, was something very personal. And I believe my rule was this, that I have worked more for the appellation than for Ca del Bosco in order to make and establish and change the DOC and make order and put the rules very strong, obviously with all the other producer, in order to set a minimum quality that was the highest of all the other region, not only in Italy, but in the world. Because at the time, we have quality on the paper. I am talking quality by rules, not quality in the bottle. But obviously, if you have high standing of quality by rules, one day you will get also the result. So our idea was to make the rules of producing Franciacorta very, very strong. And we succeed.
Okay, that's really, really interesting, Maurizio, because, I've often wondered about how Franciacorta, the whole wine zone, transformed itself so comprehensively. Because, as you say, prior to this, wine growers, people were growing grapes as they had since Roman times, perhaps. There were red and white still wines produced, but the comprehensive transformation into a wine zone for primarily classic method Franciacorta sparkling wines happened very quickly. How did the growers all become convinced that this was the future?
Well, it was not too easy. We was 28, if I well remember. So even 28 mind a different thinker, but it was not too long to convince everyone that we have to make effort, we have to make sacrifice if you want to see a future. So you cannot get what you dream if you don't do an effort, if you don't do something that take time. So it was quite, I don't want to say easy, but it was not so difficult to convince everyone and to go in one direction. And I believe Franciacorta was at that time a big effort in invest in quality and to say if you want to have a project, we are very small, we cannot win with quantity, we can win only with quality. So let's put the rules to make quality. And this is a project. It's something that take a lot of time, how you know, because you have to change also the plantation, the vineyard system. You have to change a lot of things and then leave the bottle a long time. So when you have an idea, the idea become reality, you take close to 10 years. Only to put in a glass what you thought, you need around 10 years. So some people was afraid that was a too long project, but we convinced with the fact that Franciacorta was the last area in Italy in order of number to produce bottle fermented sparkling wine because we was producing less than 1 million bottles. Then we have behind us Oltre Papavese were producing 1 million point eight. Then we have a winery alone that was Berlucchi, that was out of the DOC a certain time, and he produced alone close to 2 million bottles. And then we have Trento region that was producing close to 3 million bottles. And then we have the district of Canelli, where there was a big house doing Asti, like Martini Rossi, Cinzano, Riccadonna, Contratto, Gancia. They were producing close to 5 million bottles. So if you think that in less than 50 years it's changed completely, and now Franciacorta is the first and the other are behind, but it's not the first only number, it's the first in price, in quality, because the price is related to quality. So Franciacorta have the higher price and the higher number in less than 50 years. And this, I believe, was done for three reasons. The first is the very strict disciplinary rules of production. Second, we have no in the area, no industry, no negociant, and no cooperative. So the vision was all of recoltant manipulant, of people that make grapes and make bottle. And the third reason was to get the opportunity to take away the word spumante by the label by law and don't speak anymore of the method, metodo classico, metodo champenoise, but speak only of the appellation like we do, and all the noble wine does. When you speak of an area, you speak of an appellation, not of the method. So when you speak of Barolo, you don't say that it's a Nebbiolo wine made on the label and they have to stay for a year in the tank. You say is Barolo, is Brunello. And so we was able to avoid by law it was forbidden to use the word spumante in the label. First in Italy, then in Europe. And this was very important to classify the wine by a wine and not a sparkling wine. So to have the dignity not to call the wine by category, but by appellation. So I believe those three elements make Franciacorta street a little bit easier in order to get a good reputation and push the producer to follow the project. And every 3 4 years we change the DOC, putting higher the level of quality, introducing new rules in order to push everyone to high the quality level.
Well, that's really fascinating. And as you say, in one generation, this fabulous Franciacorta wine region, wine zone, has emerged on the world scene as the leading producer of quality Italian sparkling wines. I guess, Maurizio, one of the main reasons as well, perhaps we could discuss, is what makes Franciacorta vineyard so special and so well suited to growing the grape varieties. And let's also discuss those grape varieties to make high quality sparkling wines. What does Franciacorta have that no other area has?
In my opinion, Franciacorta have a present from God to get all those beautiful hills that are very calcaire, so with a lot of stone. Some hills are very close to Côte du Rhône, so you have more stone than land. And with these dry hills, you have a good influence of a good level of rain. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is the fact that you have a kind of higher dryer that push cool air from the glaciers down to the valley, to the lake, and the area, if you come here in June and September, you have at least in a normal day 10 degrees temperature difference between day and night. And these 10 degrees, they can arrive in some day even to 16, 17 degree of difference between temperature of the day and temperature of the night due to the glaciers and the wind coming down. And this is perfect in order to make the grape ripes, but with the freshness and the acidity that you need to make a wine that have to ferment twice. So we are very lucky for this condition where you have the perfect ripeness of the grapes, but you still keep the level of acidity that you need in order to make two fermentation. This is unique, and how you say you cannot buy this. This is a terroir that is done like this, and we are very lucky to have a situation so positive that is perfect to make Franciacorta.
Okay, that's really interesting. And the grape varieties, let's just talk about the Franciacorta grape varieties.
We start in 67 with Pinot Bianco, Pinot Nero, and Pinot Grigio, and to make what was called Pinot di Franciacorta Spumante. And there was also Pinot di Franciacorta White and Rosso di Franciacorta Red, done supposedly with Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Barbera, and Nebbiolo. But we talk more of Franciacorta in the 90 or even before, perhaps 85. We take away the Pinot Bianco and we introduce the Chardonnay that is become the first varietal in terms of percentage in the area. So now is Chardonnay in the order Pinot Noir and Pinot Bianco. And then I believe around 2015, we introduce, I am not good with numbers, so I will try to mark to give you the right number later.
Okay.
We introduce Herba Mat, and we are very proud, and we think Herba Mat will be the future of the appellation because, first of all, is local, so is indigenous. No other region in the world have Herba Mat, so it gives the root to the Franciacorta appellation. Second is the grapes that ripe 15 days after Chardonnay, and they keep a terrible high acidity. And this, I believe, in the future will help us a lot for the problem of the global warming. So, Herbamat will be crucial. Today, in my opinion, Herbamat is still a project, an idea, is not a reality. Even if it's in the rules, we are allowed to use 10%. In Ca del Bosco, we have less than 1% because we are not yet happy of the material, the wood, the vine that we get, because we have to clean all herba mat by virosis because it was sick, because it was disappear. So there was only really a few hundred plants around in Franciacorta, so we have to clean it because they have virosis, they are sick. And after they clean, we have to start to match and to make change of genetic because it was too acid, and so we try to make it a little more smoother. And so we are working with Milano University and the consortium have 3 hectare vineyard of experimental where we do all the different innesti. I don't know how you say in English.
The grafting. Yeah.
We graft with the different varietal in order to get the balance of this high acidity and get the perfect herba mat. So I believe we will have the right plant in 2 3 years. We will multiply in another 2 3 years. Let's say we will plant the 10%. I am speaking in Ca del Bosco in about 5 6 years. So we will have the grapes in 10 years, and we will have the wine in 15 years. So the project, but it's a
Okay.
fantastic project because it will balance what we probably will miss in acidity due to the global warming if it doesn't stop.
That's really fascinating, Maurizio. Looking to the future and finding the future in the past in this ancient grape variety, Erba Mat, grown only in Franciacorta, that can assist with that freshness and acidity that is at risk due to the climate change. Maurizio, I know you have the most ultra modern winery now and technologies, but you're also very rooted in tradition, in sustainable viticulture, in organic viticulture. Tell us about the importance of this.
Well, it is something that we have started very early. We start the first experiment in the late 80s, putting 4 hectare in biodynamic and 4 hectare in organic. And we have keep silently for 8 years, 9 years, something like this. I don't remember exactly, less than 10 years, with the other hectare that there was in conventional. So after this 8 9 years, we do the balance, and the balance was obviously favorable to the organic because with the biodynamic we was probably too large in order to transform everything in biodynamic. It was already with 120 hectares in 6 different villages, and so you have to be very fast and very careful with biodynamic to do the right thing in the perfect time. That is the same problem with organic, but organic is more, I don't want to say easy, but it's more fast to make what you have to do. So we decide to go in organic, and we take close to 20 years to move because we don't move from 0 to 150 in one time. So every year we was adding 10 hectares, 10, 12. So we was doing this very slow because at this latitude is not easy to be organic because we are very north, very humidity, very foggy, a lot of rain, and so be organic at this latitude is not easy. But we was convinced not for a question, honestly, of quality of the grapes. We was convinced for the quality and the future of our business. Very simple. We thought that we cannot get from the land what if we put poison in the land, and we cannot go gold from the land if I put poison in the land. It's very simple. I have to protect the land. So the philosophy behind our decision was not a driver to quality, because I am still say that with organic at this latitude, in terms of quality of the grape, in 10 years, if you do a balance, you are losing a little bit in quality, because you have 7 years that you are perfect, so you do better of conventional. But in the 3 year where you have a lot of fog, a lot of rain, a lot of humidity, the conventional grapes are better. No way. But what happened every 10 years? Put poison in your land. We own the land, is our first asset. Our business is the land. If we don't protect the land seriously, one day we will pay the bill. So the reason why Ca del Bosco is decided to be certified organic from harvest 2017, all 280 hectares in 9 different villages is not easy at this latitude. The reason why is not we do better grapes. The reason why we have better land, better ground, and we are sure that our land, our tree, our vine, they will be go longer than the other, where the people put the chemical product. So it's not our decision related to quality.
That's a very, very interesting explanation. And I'm very glad to hear that. Again, looking to the future, really, to protect this huge vineyard and asset that is so important. Maurizio, your flagship wine, your benchmark is Ca del Bosco Cuvée Prestige, a wine that I adore and I've often shown as a first wine in my Italian wine tastings. Can you tell us about both the Ca del Bosco method and about this great wine?
Well, I will start from the Ca del Bosco method going to the wine, if you don't mind, because it's related to the organic certified viticulture. So we go through this story, and when we turn in organic, we find out that in the cellar, and we was blend with the conventional, we was not 100% yet organic. We find out after 2 3 years that some tank, some wine, because we do vinification vineyard by vineyard, and so we compare a vineyard of Chardonnay next to another vineyard, one in organic and one in conventional, and unfortunately for us, the conventional in terms of aromatic was always better, so was more full of the smell, and the organic one was a little, let's say, more close. And so after 2 3 years, we was not happy, because obviously with organic at the beginning we was not expert. We pay a lot of more because we have to go in a lot of more time. So the cost was higher, and the result in terms of quality of the wine was lower. And so we send all the sample to university in order to understand which was the reason. And the reason was very, very simple. The copper that you do when you're organic, residual that you have on the skin, first of all, is an heavy metal and is not the best to put in your stomach. But second, is something that give trouble to the yeast. If you have a lot of copper, the yeast they doesn't work in the best way in aromatic, and so you lose some perfume, you lose some notes. So we say, what we do now? My God, this is a problem, because we miss something in some wine, in some harvest, where it doesn't rain after the last treatment. You take a lot of copper in the cellar, in the juice, and this copper doesn't allow the fermentation to go in point of view of aromatic in the right way. It's a very small difference. It's not huge, but there is a difference.
This is the copper sulfite that's used as an organic, permitted organic treatment
Exactly.
in the vineyard in small quantities.
And in the beginning, we was using, because we was afraid, probably also more of what we need because we was afraid. So the fact that we was using a little more, the fact that we was obliged to use this copper. Obviously, if it doesn't rain a lot, this copper stay on the skin and go in the juice and make this. So we was very, I say, down because we spend more to do viticulture and we get less in order of quality. We was a little bit disappointed. And so we have the idea crazy to say, well, it's simple. We wash the grapes. And all the people, all the enologists, professor, other producer say, you're crazy. It's not possible. But we try. It was difficult to try because no one want to go in the process of make a machine to wash grapes because how you know all the fruit that is processed in the alimentary world is washed. Orange to do juice, olive to do oil, berry to do jam and marmalade. So all the fruit in the world is washed before be processed. Only grapes in the wine business cannot be washed by, let's say, history, because water was the first fraud done in Italy to multiply wine. So people was buying wine from Puglia and at 16, 17 degrees, and the wine was arriving in the north, and magically this wine became 11, 10 degrees because it doubled with water. So water was always seen like a fraud. And so who make quality wine is blaspheme to use water. I don't know if you understand me. So we were not afraid to be blasphemed, and we start to experiment with some people that wash, the salad for the supermarket that they put in a plastic bag. This salad is already washed. So because the people that wash olive and orange say you are crazy, we will never be able to wash grapes because grapes is too delicate. So we go to the people that wash salad and we start a small machine. And we have done the first experiment in 17 and was fantastic. We lose 98% of the copper on the skin of the grapes. So we say we go. And in 2018 was the first year where we used a washing machine we call Berry Spa, and you can see this on YouTube. It's very interesting. If you go Ca del Bosco Berry Spa, you will see all the process. And we built the first berry spa. It was not easy, and where all the wine are go in a big jacuzzi, actually three jacuzzi, where the first clean, the second make a cleaning with some citric acid in order to make pure, and the third rinse. So you have three jacuzzi, different jacuzzi, where the grapes pass through, and then they are completely dry by cold air before they go in the press. And this process was make a lot of rumor because people was joking and say they're nuts to put the grapes in the water. Now I believe that the first machine are done and go in Burgundy, in Beaujolais, in Germany, but only now, more than 15 years later. And this, in my opinion, is the future because behind to have the purity of the grapes, you have another two big advantage. Three, sorry. The first advantage is that you take the level of sulfide down of two-thirds. So if before it was used in the great wine to put 40 milligram of sulfur, now we go to 10, 12. The second is that the wine, they show the fruit. When you drink the wine, you have more than the the bread crust, the yeast, you have the fruit. So how to have to taste the wine, have to taste with the fruit. And the third thing that is the last that we discovered by chance, we don't do anymore the cleaning, and we leave the wine on the sediment, and we don't take away the sediment because the sediment being so clean, they smell fantastic, and they add to the wine all the power that they lose when you take away because it smells bad. So we do every one for month a big batonnage in the tank because the wine stay on the sediment, and we want that they absorb all the power from the macro element that you have in the wine and normally it was throwing away. So the berry spa for us is born for take away the copper, but now it give us three big advantages, and we are very happy and proud to have discovered by chance the other two advantages that they are very, very important behind cleaning the copper from the skin.
That's absolutely fascinating, and in such a meticulous and extra care and cost to go through this process to get those results. Let's just briefly talk about the Cuvée Prestige wine, which is such a iconic wine, I would say, for all of Italy.
Cuvée Prestige is the most iconic wine that Ca del Bosco produce. Is a long story that is the first wine that we produced in 78 that it changed his face, it changed his philosophy, changes the packaging, changing the way of the blend, changing the percentage of wine that was in wood, and we change also the fact that now the Prestige have the edition on the label. That means it's a multi-vintage, but we cannot think that the consumer think that all the wine are the same. So each prestige have a number of the edition that we have produced. Now we are on the market with the 48, and the edition started from 2020. But the first prestige started in 2007. So in 2007, we have the idea to make this wine with this assemblage, a certain percentage of reserve, normally from 20 to 25% of 2 to 3 old vintages that we keep in barrel, used barrel. And so the idea started in 2007, but in 2020 we want to give the number, the edition, and so now we are out with the 48 and we will be in the next 49. Actually, on the market, you have 47, but 48 will be out in a few months. And so the consumer can make, let's say, a difference and see how advantage have this wine if he forgot 1 or 2 bottles in his cellar, and you can check that the 45 is better than the 46 after 3, 4, 5 years because those wines have a huge potential of maturing in the cellar due to the fact that we have another very important innovation that is the fact that we take completely away the oxygen when we do the degorgement, and so we are not obliged to put any sulfite at degorgement, and the wine are pure, but they can mature for a long time if they have a good cork and they stay in the right temperature. And maturing a long time, the quality increased dramatically. This is another, let's say, patent of Ca del Bosco that we think how to disgorge without add any sulfite to the wine and leave the purity of the wine and leave a longer potential of age.
Okay, that's a really really interesting detail as well. The degorgement without oxygen in order to completely eliminate the addition of sulfites at that vital stage. Maurizio, I'd like to change conversation now back to the area because I know you're very much an ambassador of the entire Franciacorta area, and your wines are so elegant and so prestigious. But the traditional cuisine, I'm turning now to gastronomy, the traditional cuisine of Lago di Seo is by contrast quite humble with the simple lake fish, the polenta, game, the sardina di Montisola, this air dried freshwater sardine it's something of an acquired taste. Are these foods you personally enjoy, and do you drink Ca del Bosco with them?
Oh, yes, not because we are here, not because we are obliged, because even if here they do a fantastic dessert called torta di rose, is fantastic, but I will never drink with Franciacorta torta di rose because it doesn't match. But all this very special product done here, especially from the lake, are beautiful matching with Franciacorta because you have a palette of savor very different. How you mentioned the dry sardine on the lake are very powerful, very strong, and a little bit oily. And Franciacorta is the best wine to clean the mouth from those very powerful fish. In the opposite, you have fantastic lake fish like Luccio Corregone. They are very deep, very delicate, and so you have another marriage that is not so strong like the Sardina, and is fantastic match with Franciacorta. And then you have in Rovato, the famous is a manzo all'olio, is a kind of brasato, but done with some anchovies and some persil and carrot. It is a fantastic meat. For a lot of people, sound too heavy to match with Franciacorta. But if you have the chance to find a Franciacorta that is 100% Pinot Noir, it can go perfectly also with manzo all'olio that is the typical dish with polenta from Rovato.
Okay, that's really fascinating that these very traditional local foods, foods that people have eaten forever
Yeah.
probably, are foods that still pair very well with this wonderful Franciacorta wine. Now, Maurizio, I know you travel around the world. The Ca del Bosco wines are found in the most prestigious Michelin star restaurants. Are there global cuisines or any particular foods that you think pair particularly well with Ca del Bosco and with Franciacorta?
But with no doubt, the Japanese cuisine, the real one. So I'm talking not only of sushi, I talk of especially sashimi and kaiseki are so delicate, so fine with the tone that are the perfect match with Franciacorta. For example, the satin, that is the blanc de blanc with the lower pressure, match perfectly with the raw fish that they use, like how you know, with the big culture. So you have the freshness of the fish match perfectly with the Franciacorta. This why probably I don't know if this is the only reason because Japan is always first or second market for Franciacorta, more than United States, more than Germany, because there is a long story between Japan and Franciacorta, and because I believe he matched perfectly with their food with Franciacorta.
Okay, that's fascinating as well. Now, Maurizio, a final question. As I said to you earlier, I've not had the opportunity to visit Ca del Bosco, and I hope to visit you sometime very soon. But can our listeners visit Ca del Bosco, and what wine hospitality do you offer?
We don't have a structure yet for sleep and for eat, but we are very well organized in receive visitor. We are very well organized. That means we are open every Saturday and Sunday, not Christmas, but every festivity we are open. So we have a team working in a very professional way in order to welcome the visitor. There is a website. In our website, you can book very easy the visit. You choose the visit and you book the visit. And so when you arrive, they know already your name, what kind of visit you want to do. So we are organized in a quite professional way. We can do always better, obviously, in order to welcome the people in the cellar in the best way possible. And we try to tailor make the visit. We have only one problem: we don't take group over 15 people because we don't want to have buses, and we want that the people, they can listen, they can walk, and they can enjoy the visit, not in a mess. So this is the only problem that we have. We don't want to have more than 15 people together. And we have various slots during the day, and with a different testing in the end of the tour. And obviously, our team knows all the hotel, all the restaurant, all the trattoria in the region. If someone want to organize to stay or to go to restaurant or to trattoria, we are Franciacorta. Now we have different level of hospitality. We have beautiful hotel, beautiful agri-turismo, where the people stay very well and spend a decent amount of money. And the same, we have 3-star restaurant, 2-star restaurant, but we have fantastic trattoria. And so our team is able to organize something around the visit.
That's great. That's a wonderful information for our listeners to know. And Maurizio, I would just reiterate what you said at the beginning. This is a very special area. It's an area that is not yet fully discovered by wine lovers outside of Italy, partly because Franciacorta wines are still in relatively small quantity. We don't get them in export markets as much as I would like. And I really urge our listeners to make the effort. As you say, it's conveniently located close to Milano, close to Verona. It's an area that really deserves to be discovered for its beauty as well as for its wines and its foods. Maurizio, it's been a real pleasure meeting you here this morning. I wanted to know in more detail the story of Ca del Bosco, of you realizing your dream and building on that dream for more than 50 years. And you've been able to really convey something of that detail and precision and passion that has made Ca del Bosco what it is today, known around the world. So I've really enjoyed hearing this story, and I want to thank you for being my guest today. I hope to meet you soon.
Grazie, Mark. Thank you a lot for your time, for your opportunity that you give to us. And really, you must come to see us because we have not seen and not have the time to speak of other elements that make Ca del Bosco different. Is the vineyard position that is 100% what make Ca del Bosco different from the other winery, and the art. We have a fantastic art collection that make the visit more enjoyable because there are fantastic sculpture, huge sculpture around the winery. So this is the invitation for who is traveling between Milano and Venice to stop by to see us. And obviously, Mark, I will be delighted to welcome you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I look forward to that, and I hope to see you soon. Grazie, Maurizio. Buona giornata.
Grazie, grazie a voi.
We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.